Apples and pears are the stuff of legends. They are in fact part of the same family. We could consider them cousins. They are believed to have been domesticated in Central Asia from wild types that still exist today. While you could go to any nursery and buy a potted pear or apple tree, plop it on the ground, and wait for harvest, is it possible to grow apples or pears from seed? Will it work just like with vegetables? You are about to find out. I will also share how to make homemade pear juice. You will not want to miss that. It's the middle of winter and you're thinking to yourself, you know what? I should have an apple tree. That would be nice. And then you think, I have an apple. It has a seed. Why not just plant it? You could, actually. But it depends on what kind of gardener you are. Are you the half-full kind of gardener who thinks that everything that you plan will come to fruition? Or are you the half-empty kind of gardener who understands that reality is just a little bit different? Well, I'll explain. Technically, all you need to do to grow an apple or pear tree is to gather the seed from a ripe fruit and plant it in the ground in late fall to late winter. These seeds need some cold weather to break them off their dormancy period. It can take weeks to months for the seedlings to emerge. Growing food in trees is the most sustainable form of agriculture, since trees create more biomass compared to annual crops. Because of their height, they maximize solar absorption, growing food essentially in 3D space. All that coming from a simple seed. So if it is that simple, why is it not common to grow these trees from seed? Well, like many other trees, they take time to mature. So you might imagine that people just want to hurry the process by buying saplings or potted trees. That is partially true. When I planted my pear trees, I wanted them to produce as soon as possible, so I bought potted saplings. And sure enough, they were starting to produce fruit in the second year after planting them. After winter dormancy, these trees would blossom in spring profusely, waiting to be pollinated to set fruit. But saving wait time is not the main reason experts advise you not to grow pear or apple trees from seed. Yes, they will take a much longer time to start bearing. It is estimated that trees grown from seed can take up to 10 years to start producing. Some can fruit earlier, but you could be waiting a decade to taste the fruit of your labor, or the tree's labor actually. But convenience alone should not be a deterrent to a determined gardener, especially a hopeless optimist. It would be a long-term investment, but considering that you could potentially harvest thousands of pounds of fruit for decades to come, that should provide incentive to try to grow your favorite apple or pear tree from seed that you collected yourself that cost you nothing. If you believe that patience is ultimately rewarded, you may want to try this. Reality is, you won't get the same apple you planted. If you plant gala apple seed, you're not going to get a gala apple. You might think, oh, you know what? I can deal with a Granny Smith. I'll be fine if I get a Granny Smith, or even, I'll compromise, a Red Delicious. It's not how it works. What you'll get is a wild apple. And as enticing as it may sound, a wild apple is not a supremely free and stout version of a regular apple. It is not like comparing a wild stallion roaming the Asian steppes, powerful and majestic, to a weak, tame horse. No, wild apples most of the times are small and astringent and sour or bitter. In other words, not edible or barely worth the trouble. Apples or pears grown from seed most likely will not show the same characteristics that the mother plant had because these plants have high heterozygosity. In other words, they have much genetic diversity, so that the apple you know, the Granny Smith, the Red Delicious, the Lady Alice, those apples are lucky exceptions, a chance seedling as it is called. That is how new edible and marketable apple varieties come to existence. Thousands of plants are grown and a few show promise after several years' investment. That is why growing these fruits from seed is not advisable, at least not by a pessimistic gardener. You might get lucky and find your new delicious variety, but chances are that you just wasted land and time. So almost all apples and pear trees are grafted from an original lucky plant, so that actually all gala apples are indeed clones. This has advantages and disadvantages, such as making them more susceptible to diseases that can devastate an entire orchard, considering they are all practically the same plant. I'm happy with the result I got from planting grafted potted trees. These Asian pears I planted produce heavily, and I barely care for them. But if you are the optimist gardener, you may want to still grow pear and apple trees from seed. And if you're the hopeless optimist and you do want to grow from seed, there is a silver lining. You'll get either a really good apple that you love and you get to name because it's a new variety essentially, or you get a rootstock that you can graft your favorite variety on. So that works out, I suppose, even if you have to wait a few years. In a way, it would be great if everyone grew fruit trees in their yards from seed if they had the space. You are sure to get a tree that flowers majestically, and if everyone did that, new amazing varieties could be found. Coming up in the next block, I will share with you how prolific my pear harvest was and how I made my own amazing homemade pear juice right after this commercial. Suburban Homestead is brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you. If you enjoyed the show and want to ensure more videos are produced, you can contribute on Patreon or buy art from my Etsy store. This week I'm featuring these fun, handmade plant tags with this channel's graphic style. It is a great way of decorating your windowsill herb garden and showing your support to the channel and your desire to see more of these videos. Hurry, limited offer. My pear trees were producing so much that many fruit were falling to the ground. I would not be able to eat all of them, so I had to find a way of using them. Besides harvesting the unblemished ones for eating, I collected the windfall to make my own pear juice. This process works especially well with this Asian pear as well as apples. My pears have a crunchy texture similar to apples and only become tender after maturing off the tree for some time. When I see wasps and bees eating the fruit, I know they are ripe enough to pick. First, you must carefully wash and clean the pears, especially the windfall ones that may have come in contact with the ground. Using a knife, discard any damaged or rotten areas as well as seed cores. You might want to peel them to get a sweeter juice, but it is not necessary so long as you wash them well. As you clean them, put the pieces into a pressure cooker, filling the entire pan. Using a regular pan will not work as nicely as a pressure cooker. Add about a cup or so of water just so the pears don't burn in the beginning. The pear will render out a lot of liquid, so do not add much water. Close the pressure cooker and let it cook for 5 to 10 minutes once the steam valve gets going. The time you cook this for depends on your pressure cooker, so you will have to adjust it accordingly. You will see that the pears turned pink and a lot of liquid was created. Separate this liquid using a sieve. You want to let the juice naturally fall. If you disturb the pear pulp too much, you will increase turbidity in your juice, since small pieces of fiber will be released as they pass through the sieve. To get clear juice, you need to be gentle. You can use a spoon to gently break the pieces to release the juice, never pressing it out though. Don't worry, you don't have to throw away what is left. You just use a ladle to press this pulp through the sieve in another container to get a delicious pear sauce that you really cannot find in stores. This pear variety has some larger grainy nodules inside, so this process filters them out, leaving a uniform pear sauce. As for the juice, you just needed to put it in a bottle and keep it refrigerated as you drink it. It is best to consume it within a week, but I'm sure it will not last that long.